أهلا ومرحبا بكم في رابع جلسة استماع علنية لهيئة الحقيقة والكرامة. نلتمس من الجميع التفضل بغلق الهواتف الجوالة، ونرجو منكم بكل لطف التزام الصمت والهدوء مع عدم التصفيق كما يمنع التصوير. شكرا. الآن نستمع إلى النشيد الوطني الرسمي.
Now the national anthem of Tunisia.
نص ساعة.
بيقع عليهم إن شاء الله. عايز يعمل مشكلة. لكن سبات يا حمودة.
So good evening, everyone. So the hearing of today, 17 December, coincides with the starting of the revolution of freedom and dignity, and the TDC, the Truth and Dignity Commission, is hereby opening another public hearing session and bows in honor to all the martyrs of this dear homeland. Today, TDC is going to open the session with cases related to the revolution. The first testimony is the testimony of the father of Muhammad Jabali, the martyr Muhammad Jabali, and before that, Commissioner Muhammad Salahuddin Rashid is going to introduce the case. You have the floor, sir. No civilization can be built without a story. The story of the Tunisian people, the contemporary society, is a story of success, a story of a battle that has been launched by Tunisian for success. It is a battle that included all the citizens, and it has culminated in the revolution of freedom and dignity, when the youngsters have launched a revolution with the ICTs, with advanced technology, taking the technology as a weapon. Sorry, we cannot hear the speaker anymore. Sorry, there is a sound problem. When youngsters took the initiative and to take the initiative from adults from Sidi Bouzid, the story has started on 17 December 2010. The story of the revolution has developed enormously. It has fanned out to Bouzayen, 24 December, and then Manzil Bouzayen, 31st of December, and then Regab, Tela, Kasserine, to spread across all the cities and villages of Tunisia, and and all the social groups have joined the revolution. The first case that we are going to hear, it is the case of the martyr Mohammed Jabali, this young man who was aged 25 years old from Regab. I give the floor to his father, Mr. Ali Jabali, to tell his story. In the name of God, most merciful, most compassionate, Ali Jabala from Regab, Sidi Bouzid, the father of Mohammed Jabali. I had only one child, and once upon a time he heard that his cousin beaten in front of the mosque, so he did not throw any missiles, so he took a person who was dead from the mosque, and then the commander Jouini, he was swearing, and he said who will, and he threatened anyone who will be bringing the body of the martyr, and he shot a bullet from the front, and it penetrated all of his body. They have been shot, him and Kadousi and Manal Boualagi. So we have tried to we have lodged a case, a complaint, in order to restore his right. We don't like any compensation. We would like some memorial, some rehabilitation in an occasion like that. We do not claim any compensation, any money whatsoever. This is the first thing. Secondly, with regard to Regab, Regab is a village that is deprived and marginalized. The road that we wanted to pave is subject to has not been paved, and the territorial officials or the local officials over there refused, are reluctant to pave that road. So we would like some rehabilitation. We would like to honor the martyrs. These are the martyrs of the homeland. The revolution started in Bouzayen, and then the revolution spread out to Regab, Tela, and then you see now the situation is better. So please don't forget about us. We did not claim anything, but we would like to be glorified too, so that you can remember us once a year, or you also a memorial, for example, or name of a street by the name of these martyrs. Those martyrs who have sacrificed their lives for the homeland. Now, Buzayan, there are 2 martyrs in Buzayan, 6 martyrs in Regab, and in other village 12 martyrs, and up to now. So we have not seen any official coming in public to honor these martyrs. We don't claim any material compensation. We would like the people, the officials, to remember those martyrs. I have had only one child. I am now 65 years old, and I had only one child and I lost him. And he left a daughter aged 20 years and a half, and now I am supporting the daughter. I'm really in a very critical situation. I cannot support myself. How about to support my granddaughter? We are not claiming for any compensation again. It repeats again. Please do not forget the files and the cases of martyrs. We have been left behind, as if the revolution was a useless revolution. It was a revolution, but that was not complemented with a program, a plan. Buzayan, then Regab, and then Sfax waged its uprising. So let's honor the martyrs of the revolution, but these have been left behind. So 5 years now, and nothing has been accomplished. Now, with regard to the rulings and the sentences, so 3 sentences have been issued in Sfax by the military court, and then they have been transferred to Tunis. So some perpetrators have been sentenced 20 years old, and then they have been imprisoned 3 years, and then they have been released. So in the courtroom, in the hearing, means the military judge, he will be judged one day by God Almighty. Later, the militaries, when we would like to turn behind to this perpetrator, the perpetrator who shot our children dead, they didn't allow us to turn to look into their eyes. And one the mother or the sister of the perpetrator told my wife, we have 2 children, one will be sent to prison and we will have still one left, but you have only one child and you have lost him. We would like to know who has refused or declined the right to challenge, the right to appeal. The lawyers that are defending the case, who has withdrawn the petition for appeal. We would like our rights to be restored. We are all Tunisians. We should work should work together in order to restore the rights. Again, we don't request any compensation, and that's all. Thank you very much. So the wife now, or the mother of the martyr, in the name of God, I'm the mother of Muhammad Jabali. I had only Muhammad Jabali. I had no one else. When he died, my life ended and the wound has not been healed yet. Muhammad, as if Muhammad is being killed every day. I would like sanction. I would like accountability. Who will be supporting us, his father and I? I would like the state to bring to hold to account the perpetrator. The sister of the perpetrator told me in the courtroom, I have two brothers. You have only one child and you have lost him. I am a mother. I cannot celebrate any Eid, any feast. I call upon the state to take into account the perpetrators. The wound will never heal. He is the symbol of my joy in life. He is my future. When he was killed, my life ended. I don't ask for anything except for justice, giving justice. Murad Jwini was the one who killed my son. So this perpetrator, when getting out of the courtroom, as if he were getting out of his home. This is what I'm asking for, to give justice to my son. I have no passion, I have no joy anymore in life. Thank you very much. The second case we are going to hear today, I'm sorry, she says. No problem, the president of TDC replied. The second case we are going to hear tonight is the baby martyr Baqiya Garmezi. Mrs. Hayat Wirtani is going to introduce this case. The baby Radin is the youngest martyr of the Tunisian Revolution. Yaqin from Kasserine has died on 9 January 2011. She was 7 months old. The assassination of Yaqin was due to CS gas that was used by the security services on 8 January. Excessively, the excessive use of gas that has been used to manage the crowd. The assassination of this baby shows the violation of the right to life and the security approach that has been used by the former regime to manage peaceful protests. I will hand it over to the parents of Yaqin to tell her story. In the name of God, most merciful, most compassionate. My name is Makir Garmazi from Kasserine. I will tell you the story of Yaqin, starting from 8 January in the morning. Her mother brought her to my in-laws, and at midday she went to the public bath, and then she went back home, and I have joined her in my in-laws, and we stayed over there up to 8 p.m. and we went back home in Karma neighborhood. And the Noor neighborhood, we had to pass through the neighborhood, Noor neighborhood, where the lights were off. We have passed through a protest. Security services were using tear gas, and the rioters were throwing missiles and stones, and we were observing. And then the vehicle, the police vehicle, arrived on the spot. So the slowed down, and then one police officer opened the door, and he has thrown a bomb, a tear gas bomb, and he didn't know that it was a bomb. So we went back home. I thought that the baby was sleeping at 4 a.m. My wife waked me, and she told me that the baby did not get up to breast her, and there was a situation of curfew, and I went to the Fath neighborhood to look for a taxi, and at 5 a.m. up to 5 a.m. I didn't find any taxi. I went back home. I have brought the baby together with my wife up to 6 a.m. So she was in a critical situation. I had no money at that time to afford for whatsoever. So my sister-in-law gave me 10 dinars in order for me to afford for a taxi. My sister-in-law went with us to the hospital. So we walked about 2 kilometers in a place called the Total gas station. One neighbor, he has stopped a taxi for us. He saw us and the criticality of the situation. So he went down, and then we took the taxi, and we arrived at the youth house. And then there was a road called Al-Arij, so we took that road, and we arrived in the hospital. There was chaos over there in the hospital. So there were 4 martyrs at that day that were killed. The medical doctors were wearing civilian clothes, wearing casual clothes. We did not distinguish between doctors and ordinary people. And then the medical doctor has examined her, and he told us that she had to be sent to the children wing in the hospital, and we were running with the baby, and we arrived at this division. There was breathing devices. But in fact the device was out of order. They have replaced it with another device, and the doctor told us we need to take her back to the emergency, and together with the device, the oxygen device. And he tried to use a manual way of taking her to facilitate breathing. we had Maram Nasri, who went paralyzed out of CS gas, and people have had asthma out of CS gas. So now I give the floor to the mother of Yaqeen. How can you tell the story of your daughter? Yaqeen is the joy of my life. I have worked hard for her, and I have given birth to her after 5 years, and I have asked money from my father, from my people also, in order for medication, and I lost hope of giving birth to a baby. After 5 years, God has given me this gift, and the neighbors have really felt very happy. I have had sweets and cake in celebration of this baby, and but again, when she died, just one official who has just stopped for a minute and then went back home. Aren't we Tunisians? If you don't recognize us Tunisian citizens, then we can move to another state. Qasrin is marginalized, is a very poor region. Youngsters have lost any hope. We have the one official in charge of martyrs just for a short moment. We would like our rights to be restored. What is the problem that Yaqeen has done? What is her mistake? She is 8 months old. She's a baby. If Ben Ali has remained in Tunisia, then we might face the same destiny of Syria. The people aged 30 years over there, they have no income. They are asking their parents for money. So what you know, I have struggled to have this baby. We are poor. And I have asked money from my people to give birth to Yaqeen. What is the problem that we have done? What is the mistake? We would like to know who has killed Yaqeen. We ask for accountability. We would like the perpetrators to be held accountable for what they have done, because Yaqeen before she is my daughter, but she is the daughter of Tunisia as a whole, and I have given birth to Yaqeen after I have struggled. Thank you. Now the next case is the case of, or the testimony of Martyr Jimli, Marwan Jimli. This is his name. Ula bin Nijma is going to introduce this case. You have the floor, Mrs. bin Nijma.
I read in the history books that Tala was untakeable by the Roman Emperor. They had 10,000 soldiers. When Tala fell because of a disbalance in power, the people refused to surrender and just set themselves ablaze. And we have signs of that in Qudi al-Hamra, in Tala. It was the starting point of a number of revolutions, and the spark of the revolution started from Sidi Bouzid. In Tala, it went to the point of no return. Tala suffered from poverty, from marginalization, and people walked out to the streets in their numbers. Blood was spilled, the blood of the martyrs. Marwan Jamli, Ghassan Shniti, Muhammad Omri, Ahmed Bourabi, Yassin Irtibi, Wajdi Sayhi. It was put under siege. And Kamal, the floor is yours. Tell us how Marwan martyred. This is a historical moment for me, and we longed for this moment to be united and to just look into the story. And we came to the Truth and Dignity Commission. We do not want to retaliate, but we just wanted to say the truth and know the truth and what happened to us, and we wanted to have the truth disclosed. Let me tell you that this is a reality that speaks volumes. This is the body of my son after 7 months when he was unearthed for forensic. He was intact. It was a body. It was pure. This is God blessed these martyrs. After 7 months, when I buried my son, I had a drop of blood on my foot. This is my eldest son, and I have also Muhammad, Aziz, and Marwa. These are my 3. He was the eldest son, and I worked in Libya for my family. I was 20 years old that time. I'm a disabled person, and I worked and for my children not to be trampled or to be, and I never asked for charity from anybody. Today, I just wanted to share with you the story of my son, and this is a historical moment. Marwan, he went to college first year, and then he dropped school, and out of his own will, he came to Tunis and went to the Burj Sadriya school. He graduated with honors. Where he returned to Tala, and after 3 months, he was shot dead during the revolution. This is the legacy of Ben Ali. I was hoping that he would live for me to support me. He died during the revolution. He stood for those who were trampled. On Tuesday, the people of Tala, it started in Sidi Bouzid, in actual fact, and on 3, the people of Tala came out, young people, old people, because they saw repression in Sidi Bouzid. They saw repression in the mining basin. So it was 3 January. We marched. It was a peaceful march, but numbers of armored people, led by Wa'il Malouli, and they were beaten on their heads. It was they were beaten fiercely. It was just these were just school kids, and it was so ferocious. And Marwan received a call from his sister because she was beaten, and she was assisted by Naima, from our neighborhood. And people, when they saw that, they really resented the fact of seeing their own kids being beaten fiercely. And so Tala walked out for a march. It was a peaceful march. There was no damages, no breakages, no stones thrown. Tear gas bombs were thrown at them. And from 3 January up to 5 January, men and women were marching, and these are valiant men, because when they decided to have this revolution succeed, they made it succeed. And when they showed their chests for bullets, they did, and they were not afraid of dying. Let me catch my breath, says the speaker. So from 3 to 5 January, Yusuf Abdulaziz asked them, "What are your demands?" He was told the young people who have been rounded up must be released, and we want an official to talk to him because it's a poor area. We have nothing, and when our kids graduate, they just left alone. We want just an official to talk to. And they were told that on 8 January they will receive somebody. It was Yusuf Abdulaziz, a general from the security apparatus. So no official came, and people were shot at, and it appeared that it was an information from the military court, and this is very important because it was from the military court. They ran out of tear gas bombs. They had received tear gas bombs from Libya, and they were the use date was over. The official they promised it was nothing but tear gas bombs that were imported from Libya, also bullets. And the first who was to be shot was Marwan al-Jamli, my son. When Marwan died, his friends came to retrieve him from the street. Ghassan Shniti was also shot. He was just putting him. Marwan was 19. Ghassan was also 19, and they've been living very close to one another. They ran away with the body of my son, and I want to tell you that it was the anti-riot police from all over the country, and who's been following the proceedings of the military court. The police were brought from all over the country. Even the reservists were brought from Bashusha because Tala was really difficult. They just wanted to repress the people of Tala. So what happened? There's one road leading to Tala, and that was sealed off from all areas, and Tala, and also with the testimony of the defense lawyers in Mahdia. The defense lawyers who came to see the situation in Tala, they found that we in Tala, we don't have one pack of milk or a pasta for our kids. They sealed off all the exits, and this is a reality, and I am here. They do know that very well, that this is the truth. Our daughters were raped, were beaten. They were rounded up in the municipalities, in the police station. They were so roughed up. They got into hysteria because they don't have a future. Ben Ali just brought us security people from Sousse, from Sfax, from Gafsa, from El Kef. Personally, I can't just imagine what's really happened to us. Yeah. I just want to disclose this and to share this with the people. And we gave our blood and our sons and our hearts, and I gave them the dearest of the, and we cannot add more. The mothers were relating because our sons have been killed. So it was a revolution, and I say it proudly that we really did everything possible in order to get rid of Ben Ali, and they really dug the tomb of Ben Ali in Tala. On the 8th of January, when my son was shot, he was taken to hospital. This is the woman who took my son to hospital. Her name is Monia Aouri, the director of the public library in Tala. She's the director of the library, public library in Tala. He was already dead because it was a mortal shot. Let me show you a picture. This is my son. This is the photo of my son on a stretcher. Look at my son, how he was shot. It was just he was not shot in his legs. It was just a shot that killed him. He was as fit as a horse, and he was killed by a bullet. He was taken to hospital. Sharif Azidi, who has the weapon, he said that if anyone opens his or her mouth, I will just shoot you down. And from here, they call me Uncle Kamal in Tala, and the people in Tala, they are all my sons and daughters. They tell me we're our sons and daughters. So they took the body of my son, and they crossed the mountain. It was through the mountain that the body of my son was taken, the extremity of the mountain, and he was taken to his grandfather's place. in Eastern Tala, and we just have one road in Tala. This is the reality of Tala. The members, the president, you do know very well the situation. Walid al-Bannani, Mustafa Marzouki, Lutfi bin Shiddu, you all know the situation, and I'm just saying the truth and nothing but the truth. I just want to have my voice heard. I don't want anything else. I'm working and I'm fine. Even in the military court, we never ask for any compensation, and we never ever ask for any compensation. Neither myself or my son, my wife. We never asked for a monetary compensation or said that my sons. We're not selling our sons, and my wife told me that if my son would go to the hairdresser and have his hair cut, one hair is worth millions. My son was taken to his grandfather's place because it was not possible. The road was separating. In Eastern Tala, and my son was in Western Tala, and I had to cross the mountain to get to my son. My wife had to walk the whole night because the road was sealed off, and also there are so many words that we heard, and we were hurt by that, and it was, there were the democratic women from the Democratic Association who wrote about the situation in Tala, and it was verbatim. They wrote everything, but I wouldn't be able to say such things because it's crude language. We had to wait until the morning, and my wife had to walk the whole night to get to the body of my son. We took all the mothers had the same predicament in Tala and also in Kasreen, and when they would tell you the same story, the same situation that happened in Regab or in Redaif, in Degash, and in Kram, and in City Tadaman, also in Jerba. If you ask me about the numbers of the martyrs in every region for the last 5 years, I know the numbers. I got diabetes. My wife got diabetes, and we had sit-ins in almost every place in front of the Ministry of the Interior. The Ministry of Defense. We also had a sitting in Sfax. There is not one single place we haven't had a sitting with, and they know my face. They saw me thousands and thousands times. We went to justice, but we never received the justice. The military the courts never rendered justice to us either. Sorry, excuse my oversight, and I just want everybody to be aware of this. Is that when the body of of somebody who was taken from the mosque, we were asked that the body would be carried by 4 women. The people of Tala are honorable people. They just walked out and took the bodies of the martyrs. There were 5 of them, because one was killed on he was killed on 12th January. The first 4 were killed on 8th of January, and they were carried by the people of Tala, and they showing their chests. You can shoot at us anytime. And the martyrs were taken for their burial places. When we reached half the road, it was just a deluge of tear gas bombs from Gaddafi, and it was an investment from Gaddafi, and it was just a deluge of tear gas bombs and bullets, and it was an army officer who charged and was ready to shoot. The commander, but I don't want to mention his name, and was told, if you shoot, I will shoot you. Monsef Lashimi, the general, and Monsef Lashimi does never give in. But Monsef Lashimi, the general, was defeated together with Ben Ali. On 12th of January, the RCD headquarters were set ablaze, and Ben Ali was finished. Tala was set free. The RCD quarters were set ablaze. We set ourselves free of the police. But who really released the people of Tala? It's because when Maktar revolted, and Rigab, and also the 1 million march in Sfax, Ben Ali was just sending us people to kill our sons. Sorry, excuse the oversight. This is the official that we were promised, and when they run out of bullets and tear gases, they just imported some more from Libya with a used sell-by date. I took 2 bags of all sorts of tear gas shells when he was investigating the case, and he knows that very well, and he is very knowledgeable about the case. What are your demands? We got to the military justice, ma'am, and the justice was not being rendered. Military justice was not rendered, and we have not been. We did not get our rights back. We want the case to be looked into again, and if we have a right, we will get our rights back, and we will follow that. We want justice to be rendered. We don't want violence. We want just our rights to be rendered to us by the force of the law. We are not violent people. At some point in time, I know who killed my son. I know them individually, and because what they did, and we had a work plan. The supervisor, XY, Khalid Marzougi, and Ayashi bin Susiya are in front of the court, and they are the ones who killed our sons. and they had also a weapon. It's an individual weapon. It was a work plan. Mr. Lutfi and Mr. Dweeb, they all know that. Also, the defense lawyer know that. And this is the evidence. We have their numbers, their telephone numbers. We also have them listed in the military court. The document is in the military court, and I know who killed my son, and I know the Maluri was positioned in X place, and General Mosif Al-Jimi was General Yusuf Abdulaziz were also. I knew their positions, and I know how they really took relished in shooting our sons and daughters. We gave blood for this revolution, but we don't want anything. With the only thing we just want is, let me tell you one thing. Long live Tunisia. We love Tunisia. We love one another, and we want that rights, that justice to be rendered to each and everyone by the force of the law. We gave everything to this revolution, and we entrusted trustworthy people with our revolution. If we have not gave our sons' blood, people wouldn't have been able to speak freely. Everyone was muzzled. The doctors. Because they were under the baton, but the ones who he couldn't silence was those young people. This all what I have. Long live Tunisia, and may they rest in peace. All the martyrs of the 14 January Revolution, and also the wounded, may they have a speedy recovery. They are suffering. I know that the people who are there under treatment, they are suffering, and there have been so many violations. May peace, may also the martyrs of the security services rest in peace as well. May also rest in peace those from the military institution, and long live Tunisia. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kamal. And please don't applause. There's no need for that, please. Thank you for your understanding.
كل واحد نص ساعة ترتاح انت خويا شوية. ميرسي يعطيك الصحة. So the revolution was first launched because we wanted to achieve dignity to the entire population, and what we'll be examining next is the case pertaining to corruption that led to human rights violations. His Excellency the Ambassador Ahmed bin Mustafa will be shedding light on his own testimony about the way corruption was organized in Tunisia. Mr. Radwan will be shedding light on this case. As the President mentioned, that the following testimony will give us a clear idea about the link between corruption and bribery and human rights violations in the past, because the previous regime at the time of Ben Ali, he was trying to make everyone under the service of that regime, and any person who would dare to step forward and refuse to comply to his own orders, he or she would be persecuted. And we are here to listen to a testimony that is quite revealing to this relation between on the one hand, corruption and also violations of human rights. This testimony will give us also an idea and reflect the way the previous regime dealt with the honorable citizens of Tunisia who were persecuted and whose career was destroyed, and in order for us to understand the way this system was working, we are in deep need to listen to this experience as narrated and told by His Excellency the Ambassador. So there were several cases and several people who did write reports and did actually try to expose that regime, and Mr. Mustafa will make it further clear for us and clear to us. So kindly do not applaud after the presentation, and kindly be as attentive and as quiet as possible. I would like to thank you for this historic opportunity after 11 years of the suffering and the sufferance that I lived through, and I would like to start with an overall general observation to express my own appreciation for this moment. The very same day, a few years ago, I was about to be sentenced by the court, and a verdict was issued to imprison me for 6 years, and I was not allowed to leave the country. And I discovered that I was sentenced to imprisonment in absentia, and I was also accused for stealing public money, and that I was also accused by smuggling foreign currency on my way to Emirates, and this was to serve the best interest of Jalila Trabelsi. This event was very symbolic. The current event, in other words, is very symbolic for myself, and I believe that I owe the Tunisian people a lot for this revolution, and for this revolution I owe my life, because if it wasn't for that revolution, I would have been serving imprisonment, and as you know, I was sentenced in absentia, and you know that when I gave myself up as per the law, the court or the trial will start from the very beginning, and I was sure that I'll be sentenced for years of imprisonment in an unfair fashion. So I'm so happy to and I'm so lucky as well, because the revolution started and took place, and I will try to do my best to brief you on my own case and to tackle very important elements. It has to do with the events that happened right before the revolution as well, and I would like to give you an idea about the overall atmosphere that was actually ruling Tunisia, and the system and regime that was in place. I used to work as a diplomat. I did serve as a diplomat for 30 years. When I was named as an ambassador, back then, when the revolution started, we were so hopeful, and we were deprived from so many rights, and we were trying to have high aspirations and ambitions. And as you know, at the time of President Bourguiba, at the very beginning, when he established the diplomatic corps. We were actually at a moment when Tunisia was taking its own initial steps after the independence, and we considered that period to be like a golden period. And then later on, when the Ben Ali started his own move to assume power at the end of the era of President Bourguiba, we were also hopeful at that time, but unfortunately he changed all his own promises and didn't respect them. And we at that time we're expecting democracy to reveal and to prevail, and we were actually expecting that there were several nominees from the ruling party to become actually ambassadors or counselors, but this didn't happen. And unfortunately, with the passage of time, we discovered later that some professionals from different professions felt isolated and prepared a list of demands or requests to have also positions in the diplomatic corps back in the 90s. So what happened is that the regime seeked recourse into deterrence, and Mr. Darir Ameri, for example, who was one of the founders of this movement, who talked about the militarization of the diplomatic corps, he was persecuted and he was imprisoned, and this was a message sent to diplomats in general, and the elites in the country in general, to be submissive and to avoid any kind of movements. In the 60s, we had like 10 years that witnessed much of change and much of organization for the state in general and the structures of the state, and especially when it comes to the diplomatic corps. There were several venues that were trying to discover back then, especially at the level of collaboration with different states, and the venues pertaining to investment as well, foreign investment, had much to do with the diplomatic corps and their own efforts, i.e. the efforts of diplomats. This was part of the three plans for the development in Tunisia at the time of President Bourguiba. There was a plan in place, there was a clear orientation and heading towards development and the restructuring of the different agencies of the government, and there were several important steps that were taken in the right direction back then, and there was also the establishment of the HICA, or the establishment of the High Commission for International Communication, and I did witness the sending or the dispatching of some delegations to several countries in the region, including Egypt. There were some delegations and some envoyees who were sent to different parts of the world, including the USA, And back in the 90s, the regime used to talk about the Tunisian miracle, and this machine that was used by the previous president Ben Ali to send messages to the world that Tunisia is on the right track, and most of these info were not accurate, of course, and he was seeking recourse into propaganda to shed light on how advanced Tunisia is getting. There's Mr. Nizar Bahloul, who's a journalist that I had like a debate with in December in 2013, where he later was sentenced to imprisonment or punishments or sanctions that as a result of a case that I filed against him, and the court issued a verdict to return my rights back to me, because he was actually not only criticizing me, but actually insulting me. So this was one example pertaining to those who were the key elements of this machine of in service of the previous regime at the level of advertisement and propaganda. Let me shift back to my own responsibilities that I assumed in the Arab world, especially in Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates. I had many ambitions, and I was so enthusiastic, and I remember that back at the beginning of the millennium, there was an understanding that Tunisia was part of a group of countries that was in a position to actually achieve developmental goals, and we were characterized by having potential. And we had a vision that we wanted to implement. I tried several times because the time was ripe to enhance our own ties and collaboration with Emirates. We wanted to send a message to the Emirati businessmen that Tunisia is full of opportunities of development and investment, because usually there is a committee in charge of pan-Arab relations in general, but I tried to bypass that committee and to try to seize the momentum that was available back then, by inviting the president himself to look into those suggestions pertaining to developmental projects and investment. This request was well received, and this paved the way before the Emirati investors to invest in Tunisia, and there were several projects that were concretized at that time, like the project of Sama Dubai, or the skies of Dubai, and about more than 60% of the shares of the Tunisia Telecom company was privatized back then, and there were some other projects in the field of sports. These three projects actually were invested in by Emirati businessmen, and this was a kick-off point or a launching point for several other venues and means of collaboration between Tunisia and Emirates. Among the responsibilities that I assumed was as a result of a phone call from Mr. Abdul Wahab Abdullah, who called me, and he was in charge of the any affairs pertaining to the so-called ruling family, and he called me and asked me to deal with Mrs. Jalila, and I went to Dubai and met with Mrs. Jalila, a relative of the president's wife, and usually the ambassador doesn't move except when there is an official visit. So I felt back then that I was asked to be moved to meet someone not on an official mission. This was a deviation in itself. This opportunity, or this situation, in other words, passed by, and during my meeting with this lady, I noticed that there is sort of arrogance in the way she or other members of the ruling family deal with important officials in the country, including security officials. And I've noticed that there was a network that included several stakeholders. One of them was Abdul Wahab Shaban, a businessman who resides in Emirates, and there is also Jalila Trabelsi as part also of this network, serving the best interests of the ruling family in their own affairs. And the embassy wasn't invited to their own events, especially except in certain rare cases, and there are of course protocols to be followed in such regard. And some people were accusing me of being accused by being a complicit in that venue, but we don't actually know as ambassadors about details whenever there are instructions issued by the presidency. So I did meet with her. I did meet Sakhr al-Matri as well, and Bilhassan Trabelsi, and who came in the framework of a given mission. So see how and to what extent the regime was dealing with his own representatives abroad. And we wanted to send a message about how attractive Tunisia may be for investors. Unfortunately, the exact contrary happened, because the Emirati businessmen understood that the ruling family members or the relatives and the in-laws of the president were actually moving their own money and their own capital outside Tunisia to Emirates. So this was like a message in the wrong direction. Later, if you remember, at the time of the revolution, those members of the family were caught at the airports with their own luggage or cases full of money. So back then I was full of hope that Tunisia could attract investments, foreign investments on a wide scale, but unfortunately I realized that those projects were so difficult to be realized due to several reasons, including corruption and including also bureaucracy. So I didn't expect that one of the in-laws of the president will put himself in the position of a middle person simply to have a commission, to act as a broker. So I was surprised, and the embassy's role was limited to those acts of protocol and actually certain limited activities, and I was expecting myself as the ambassador of Tunisia back then in Emirates to attend such meetings and such negotiations, but this wasn't the case. In August, when Abdul Wahab Abdullah, when I tried to open that venue with Emirates, he was named as foreign minister, and this had much to do with the movement and the development the Tunisian Emirati relations witnessed. Usually he doesn't call me except when the members of the ruling family or the president's family, when they plan to visit Emirates, so as we can meet them at the airport and facilitate their entrance as VIPs. But here we can see how the borders were quite fine and were quite limited when it comes to the best interest of Tunisia and the best interest of the ruling family. So they were the president had a new son named Mohammed back then, and they asked me via the presidency to send a girl. That girl was supposed to work as a servant at the presidency or the presidential mansion, and they asked me to pay her own salary in foreign currency via the embassy, and see how the regime used to act, and the presidency used to, and the staff of the presidency used to send the bills or the needed documents to cover up for such processes. And they used to send these documents to the public accountant. And back to the topic of investment and the Emirati investments in particular, those deals with the Emirati companies took place, and the broker was Belhassan Trablsi. I discovered that when the presidency contacted me to meet Mr. Salim Tlatli, who will come to or visit Emirates on an official mission. He was named as the minister of huge projects in particular. This was his own portfolio. Later, I discovered that Belhassan Trablsi was the chief of the delegation, and he, of course, was one of the in-laws of the president, and Salim Tlatli was with him. After we received the delegation at the airport as the Tunisian embassy, we were later distant, and after distancing us and marginalizing us, the meetings took place between them and the Emirati businessmen, and when the deal was actually finalized and ratified, the deal was quite huge. It included $2.8 billion, and we were so hopeful as an embassy that and optimistic that this would be quite a stride for Tunisia in terms of investment and also in terms of ties and relations with Emirates. we were waiting for the moment where this agreement will be signed, and we heard later that there were impediments or obstacles, and that the signature was actually postponed, and that there were certain payments paid to Belhassan Trabelsi, and the entire topic was quite ambiguous, and we were kept in the dark. We were not kept in the loop at all. We felt that sort of parallel diplomacy taking place, and we felt that the embassy and our embassy in Emirates was quite small, and we were not well prepared for such intensive activities, and we were not highly staffed back then, and I was trying to assume my own responsibility. And I remember we were celebrating the 50th anniversary of our own independence, and Mr. Abdul Wahab Abdullah called me back then. It was a Thursday night, which was a day off for the embassy, and usually these calls in general come at a late stage. They don't give you enough time to prepare, and some of them were just considering that we can do miracles, while actually, of course, this was so difficult to be done. I was informed that Jalila Trabelsi will visit Emirates via Beirut on the 22nd of March. At that moment in time, Mr. Abdul Wahab Abdullah told me, if the time is not enough, then you can send her a diplomat. I sent the consultant or the advisor of the embassy, and actually he wasn't able to invite the Emirati authorities to receive her as a VIP, and she started asking about me, and she was angry, and he tried to accompany her and the members of her own delegation or family members, and he announced, her husband Muhammad Mahjoub was accompanying her, announced that I have a briefcase with 550,000 euros. She resided at the premises of one of the Emirati businessmen. We offered her a car, we offered her services. She said no, thank you. And Abdul Wahab Abdullah called me later, a few days later, and he was angry, and he considered the fact that we didn't manage to meet her as a VIP as a fault on the side of the embassy, and he asked me to conduct an investigation. So, Mr. Ahmed, would you please tell us what was the problem? Is it because it wasn't received as a VIP at the special reception of VIPs at the airport or lounge of VIPs? And this was a huge mistake in their own point of view, and Mr. Abdul Wahab Abdullah was looking or trying to find faults and loopholes in my own performance, and he asked me to conduct an investigation. I did ask the consul or the embassy's consultant at that time to actually conduct an investigation and to see and send, or after drafting a report, of course, sending that report to the pertinent minister and Mr. Abdul Wahab Abdullah. And of course, this had taken place. A month later, there was an inspection sent from the ministry to the embassy of Tunisia in Abu Dhabi, and this is something normal so far, because inspections used to take place from time to time. The inspector came, conducted his own investigation, and inspected our own performance as an embassy in general. Later on, he issued a report after returning back to Tunisia in June. A decision was made that I need to go back to Tunisia, and I need to I was expecting to spend 5 years, but actually this did not take place, and I was removed back to Tunisia, and I became like an attaché at the foreign ministry before the conclusion of my term as an ambassador in Emirates. When I tried to check, I found Mr. Salah Jamali and the Secretary General of the ministry. They told me that there is a file that was prepared. It included several complaints and several loopholes at the level of your own duties and responsibilities, and that you didn't carry it out in the right fashion. And we just want you to present your own resignation rather than issuing a decision of firing you. Usually there was a different channel that used to be adopted in such cases, but it wasn't the case. And if there's like a huge file prepared against me, I have been working for 30 years as a diplomat, and they said that the decision came from the president himself, and I asked them for a grace period to reconsider and to think of the next move, and actually I did submit a request asking them to review their decision or investigate the entire issue, and I heard that there were several similar decisions taken when it comes to the removal of some of the other officials, and the public accountant did commit mistakes, and they made me bear the responsibility. So I was sort of the scapegoat for them, and I'll give you some examples here to show you how they fabricated that entire case. So I will show you a document here. The document that I'm showing you didn't include like a date or a signature. It may have been simply printed, drafted by any means. No official registration number was given to that document, no stamp of the presidency or any minister. So any employee may know that this is a document that and a complaint that was actually filed against me in a malicious fashion, and it has been made up. It's simply aiming at removing me from my position. So no good intent or good deeds were behind that document whatsoever, and of course there were several. There was a case that I filed against the Tate at that time, and against the decision, and the court actually issued a verdict in more than one circuit and at more than one level of litigation in my favor, and this was a very bright signal from my point of view, which shows that the Tunisian judiciary and is quite fair, and there were also members of those circuits, especially in the judiciary, that were supportive to my own cause, and the verdicts that were issued by the Court of Appeal in February 2000 and 2007 or 2000, where the investigation started. It was 2007, and the investigative judge referred me to the criminal circuit with the charge of looting public money and public funds. So this is the way the charge was actually qualified and drafted, aiming at destroying me. So they had a system in place to actually destroy the career of he who stands against their own will. They didn't expect me to file such a case, and I'll later on delve into the details. The complaint was issued by the Foreign Ministry, and the person in charge of looking into those complaints was supposed to conduct an investigation and to decide whether or not to refer the case to the court. The charge was the looting of public property, public funds, and they claim that I've taken the laptop, for example, of the chief of mission in Abu Dhabi back home with me, and the next chief of mission did conduct an inventory, and he sent a report that none of these assets were stolen actually, but there were so many elements that could have been capitalized upon to drop the case and drop the charges against me, but they continued in that venue simply to destruct me, put an end to my career, making use of the different agencies of the state. And I would like to open a bracket here and say that via the administrative court and also several other circuits of the judiciary and the administrative structure, to have even a copy of the report that was filed by Abdul Wahab Abdullah against me, and in May 2016 when he confronted me, he told me that back then there was a decision taken by the president, and all of the presidential decisions need to be implemented as they are, and he was confident that he has taken the right step in the right move. And for 5 years, those documents, or in other words, the exculpatory evidence were there to prove that I have been wrongly accused, but still they didn't give up. They proceeded with the entire case and to the end, and I did. And the recommendation from the presidency, they were sent to the fourth investigative judge to actually move me to prison, to issue a decision to jail me, but I won't mention his own name right now to avoid defaming him. I just wanted to exemplify and illustrate that they were even exercising pressures, enormous pressures on the judiciary. The investigation took about a year and a half from the time of initiating that investigation and the conclusion of that investigation and referral to the criminal circuit. All of the evidence, the exculpatory evidence namely, were there, and still a decision was taken in September 2017 to ban me from traveling, and I was informed later by one of my brothers-in-laws who used to live in El Kram next to us. he was imprisoned before, and he is familiar with those decisions, and he had his own sources of information. One of the persons who used to survey him, because he was released on probation, and he relayed to him this piece of information that I was banned from traveling. So this is a clear clue that they wanted to escalate against me, and during the year and a half of investigation, there were several malfunctionings taking place. So the administration was in a position where they invited several lawyers and several also agents and did invite even people from Abu Dhabi who used to work at the embassy to testify against me on the expenses of this Tunisian state, simply to destroy me.
So the 30th June 2008, the investigation was ended, and this means that I have to be brought before the court. Definitely this is based on the instructions of Abdulwahab Abdallah. One official told me, do you know what happened? We are having control over everything. You need to resign to stop the investigation. I refused definitely to submit my resignation. It was the first time. As you can see, I have been advised by the defense lawyers that I send a President of the Republic, because they thought that the head of state might not be aware of my case, and the investigative judge was determined to go ahead with the charges and so on. After the revolution, and I have not been acquitted yet, the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs, they have understood that it is no longer possible to have their hands on the on justice, and they have asked for reconciliation, and they asked me to sign on a document that you are not going to lodge a case against the ministry, because they had fear that a case will be brought against them, because they cannot manipulate justice any longer. Nabil Akrami, the counsel of the ministry, he told me that I was the lawyer of the devil, but I would like to advise you to testify before the public in order to uncover the corruption and the machinery of the state. And then the criminal chamber has issued a sentence of conviction, and after the sentence I have contacted the Court of Auditors to request some documents and so on. On 9 December, the Cassation Court has overridden the decision by the Court of Auditors, and then within 1 year this decision or sentence has been overridden again. You see, So you see, less than 1 year, the decision of the Court of Auditors, the decision of the Court of Appeal, and on 4 November I have been sentenced 6 years imprisonment. Before that, in April, the file and the case has been leaked to the mass media. Some papers have published the case, especially Business News. It was a campaign against me, and the case and the elements of the charges have been leaked to the public in full. When I was sentenced and convicted, I had to challenge the sentence. The days of the revolution and the developments of that time made the court to postpone the trial and the prosecution and the execution, and then the revolution sparked, and the enforcement of the execution of the sentence was postponed. The court was scheduled for November, and then the ministry had fear of retaliation because they have been accused of using the administration because there was a sentence by court. So we cannot but carry on the judicial proceedings, and I have been acquitted, and there was no appeal or challenge. Before the sentence was issued, I have made a media statement to talk about the case and the elements of the charge, and you can see now the mass media have been used by the state institutions, but still there are very respected media institutions, especially Abdurraouf Al-Ayadi, who has transferred the case to some foreign media institutions. And this made my voice to be heard outside Tunisia. As you can see, I thought that after the revolution the situation has become very clear, and I'm going to restore all of my rights, but unfortunately the situation has not changed, whether at the level of the administration institutions or mass media. What happened at the time is that the ministry, immediately after the sentence was issued, they have invited me and summoned me in order. They told me, we can appoint you an ambassador, but because I was approaching the retirement age, and they have offered the position of the head of the Tunisian delegation at the Arab League, so it was a trade, in a way, trade-off for me not to lodge a complaint against the ministry, but I refused that. Because as soon as they heard that I lodged a complaint against them because there was a non-lieu sentence, and I contacted the TDC, the Truth and Dignity Commission, and an investigation was opened against Jalila Trabilsi, and I was summoned as a witness in July 2011 and January 2012. There was a confrontation between Jalila Trabilsi and I, and she wanted to apologize for me, but most importantly, can I carry on? at that stage, where the proceedings were underway, so the justice had paid special attention to my case, and the TDC also. I don't know what is the destiny of the case. The case was mentioned in the report of November 2011. Now, when it comes to the criminal proceedings and the action I have lodged against Abdulwahab Abdullah and so on, the complaint has led the ministry to withdraw my nomination, and I have been sanctioned because I've lodged the complaint. The issue has developed further, and the position has been given to somebody else. It was for some, let's say, party or sharing the positions between the political parties. But so what I would like to highlight is corruption in politics, in the policies of the state. So the professional politicians, they have paid the price for this. The diplomatic work is closely linked to the strategic choices of the state. In the 60s, we had the approach to put in place a productive economy through Tunisian manpower, and to resort to borrowing only when needed. These are lessons that we have drawn from past experiences. But again, as you can see, the policy aimed to get rid of the economic colonization. So our generation, which is the generation of the 70s, we have come after this tendency, this approach has been weeded out. There was a belief, there was a strategic choice by the Tunisian diplomacy, because the economic diplomacy is closely linked to the overall diplomacy in Tunisia. And you know that we had some problem, our diplomacy had a problem with the EU and Europe in general, and this is we are now under that consequence of that policy. It is an openness that is not carefully studied. So the promotion of foreign investments that are very open, and the openness with Europe started in 65, 66 and 67, and the convention. What is the thread between all of these openness conventions and the convention of autonomy, the local domestic autonomy of 55, and the constitution of 65. So I have investigated the policy of Tunisia, and that the advantages granted to foreigners has to do to can be explained by a system, capitalization system, that was put forward by the Ottoman Empire in a period, the period before the French occupation period, and this policy was to serve the French occupation, because France at that time had already occupied Algeria, and France had had kept a close eye on Tunisia, and we need to regain the diplomatic, the old approach of diplomacy in Tunisia. We need to hear the experts, especially the borrowing policy. There are some books which have investigated the collapse of the Tunisian economy due to the very bad policies, economic policies and relations with the EU. I have heard the news that the presidency that because the Ben Ali drifted off the main choices and has used the administration at the service of his own family, and he has drifted off the good policy. It is and the imbalanced openness we had, and then the things have been aggravated further with the economic crisis, and the economic choices are no longer made or put forward locally, and the openness policy that has been championed by the World Trade Organization. So the manpower is being serving the foreign corporates. You don't have enough resources. Let's say the olive oil, the 80% of the value added is sent to Italy because we don't have enough technology to benefit from the value added. There are some activities with high value added. We are not using them, so harvesting the olive to produce olive oil is not being used. There are some alternative policies now. We can embark on them, and we need to revisit all of the choices and the strategic policies. The civil society and mass media are not engaged in that debate. So very kindly, I would like to request all parties and stakeholders to consider and revisit those issues, because when I lodged a case or a complaint in 2011, now after 5 years, justice and the investigative judge, they told me that we have some other priorities, the cases of the injured and the wounded, the martyrs and so on, but when I am a defendant, you can see that the process is accelerated. But when I am presenting myself as a victim and lodging a complaint, you can see things and the process slowing down, and until the case is going to fade down. This is the second investigative judge considering the case. We would like to settle the case. On 9 October, when I addressed a message through the Hiwar TV channel, I can understand why the statement has been deleted from YouTube within 24 hours. This raises a number of questions. We would like justice to be reformed and to turn from an instrument used by the state and the government to a justice, to give justice and to uncover the truth and to establish justice. And in 2013, based on a statement by the Minister of Justice, Mr. Nordin Bhiri, he has made an address that 2013 will be a critical year to reform justice and to settle so many cases, and so many judges have appeared before the court who were included in the complaint, and they told me that there are some special committees investigating the cases, and after the parliamentary elections and presidential elections, I have sent other messages to the ministers of justice and other messages through mass media. If we cannot have the right be restored in proportions, and now I would like to publish my statements. Reform is not defamation. It is very risky to come to such situation after 6 years of the revolution. I have missed some cases brought before the administrative court. I have relied on the political power to give me justice after the revolution, but my lawyers, they have warned me that things will be forgotten with time, and they advised me to lodge a case before the administrative court, but I have had this complaint has borne no fruit. Maybe you can say that Mustafa may not tell the truth, but investigation is needed with regard to we need to give more importance to the diplomacy and diplomatic delegations. We need to pay attention to the training of diplomats, because these are the first shield against the threats, especially in the area of business and economy. Because the consequences or the advantages are closely related to the conventions that we conclude with international powers. The EU are treating us as an industrialized country, but we are lagging behind, and I would like to call upon the economists and politicians to engage into a national dialogue, and we can contribute to this debate with some alternative solutions. And I would like to apologize for my lengthy statement. I would like to thank Mr. Mustafa, and the last testimony is the case of Hamida Langi. And Mrs. Ibtihal Abd Latif will kindly introduce this case.
There are many. There are many the victims of human rights violations, most particularly the prisoners of opinion, and they have told us that they have come out from the big prison, small prison to a big prison, most particularly the society, and the violations that they are exposed to as a consequence of the refusal of society. And the victim in the environment, Hamida Ajingi is one of them, and she opted from an early age to have an opinion, so this earned her arrests. torture, prison, and also defamation. It's been a long journey with pain and resistance. Hamida, the floor is yours to tell us about your experience. Thank you, Ibtihal. Thank you, each and everyone, and thank you for the Truth and Dignity Commission and Mrs. Ben Sidreen, and also the honourable people inside and outside the room. If I introduce myself, I'm one of the free women of Tunisia. I'm a Tunisian, and I'm as old as this country. Who anyone is proud of it. I'm Hamid Al Ajangi. This is the family name of a large family from Sukra in the governorate of Ariana. And as a young girl, I had a dream. I wanted to be somebody. I had so many dreams. I was not wearing the headscarf, and I used to wear my jeans and to have my hair set, but at a point in time I got convinced to wear the headscarf, and I followed my my education. That was end of the Bourguiba era. We were not allowed to go to school with the headscarf. When Ben Ali took power, and with the new regime, we thought that this would bring about a real change. I was 16, 17, and we thought that we were allowed to wear the hijab. But unfortunately, every time we got back to school, the headmaster would not allow us to get into school with the headscarf. So one day we decided, as students, we wanted to go to the presidential palace in Carthage and to have our voices heard there, and we thought that the president could have not been aware of what we were exposed to. So we were a group, not too large a one, and when we got to the train station, we were rounded up by police force because we were asked what's the reason of you being here. But we told them that we just want to tell the president that it's not disallowed to wear the headscarf. So we had two people from our group to talk about our situation. So we decided to go to other schools in Rue de Russie, in Bab al Khadra, but they had their informants on the train. We went to get the support of other female students, and we were in numbers, and they were ready, and we were just college students. We were about 15, 16, 18, and every time we had a group who would come off at a station, they would be arrested and would be taken to a police station. So we were detained for a whole day in a police station. Until after sunset, we were just crying our eyes out, and we were telling them that we didn't do anything, and we were asked to get our demands together with our names and details. So it was dark, and we were released. My father got panicked because we were late. when we got back to school, but they collected us, and we were from this administration of this school, and we were asked to bring our parents. And our parents were told that your daughters are having political activities, and our parents were asked to either strip us of our headscarves or go, never return to school. The headmaster told my father that your daughter is a stubborn girl, and I really insisted on wearing my headscarf. It took me a week, my father on his position, me on my position, and I decided to drop off school. And I started feeling the pain of leaving school out of my own willpower. And after a period, he asked me whether I wanted to get into a private school. So I enrolled for computer science skills schools, and I got a diploma, and I was very happy because I hoped that I would get to one of my dreams. All my other colleagues got jobs, but because we were wearing the headscarf, we were not allowed to access any job. So I was a stay-home young girl, and we would go to the mosque to recite the Holy Quran, and also to teach young people the Quran, and also we got enrolled in charity activity, social activity, which is we are having such associations, but at that time it was marginalized, and I started to understand the politics, and whenever I heard about a march or a riot or something, even though I was not a student with them, it was on the slide. My father wouldn't know about that, but I used to get my dose of tear gas or my bruises and scratches, but I felt really happy because I resented the regime a lot. Now we come to 1991. And we started to raise money to help the needy, of course, under the umbrella of the movement of the Islamic tendency. And Ben Ali, once one gets in prison term, the neighborhood watch would keep an eye who would get into contact with the family of the prisoner. But I was not afraid, and I would get 1, 2 dinars, 5 dinars, and we would take them to the families of the prisoners. And this is how my political activities started, and my predicament with the Ben Ali regime. So I got arrested in 1991, 13 September. We were raided in every place, and during that time I had a relationship with somebody who is currently my husband, and he was underground because he was run away from the police. And on 30 September, it was siesta time. They raided our house, and my father was also having his nap. But it was strong knocks on the door, and there were 6 of them. They were from the intelligence, the Ministry of Interior Intelligence. When my father opened the door, they asked about me. Hamida. I was wearing my jeans, a T-shirt, and I was told to take my time to wear my stuff. My brothers were really scared. My other brother, who is staying next door as well, they did not search the house, but they were reassuring me that I need to go with them. When they took me out of our house, I was really shivering, and I thought that my turn has come to get my share of all sorts of tortures. So I put my jilbab, and they were very reassuring. And my brothers asked them, where are you taking Hamida? And they said, yes, we're taking her to the police station in Ariana. So my brother started his car engine, and I couldn't walk. They were just carrying me and took me and run to their car. They didn't want my family to know about my whereabouts. We got to the 2 civilian cars, and very quickly Samia Al-Amri and I greet her by this occasion. I was asked who was sitting next to me, but I knew. I didn't know why my friend was arrested. So the vehicles drove off and to the direction of the Ministry of the Interior. And there was also another woman in the car in front of us. But we were very scared. We got to the Ministry of the Interior, and I saw the Fatma from my neighborhood, from Sukra, and she was the one who indicated or pointed them to our houses, and she was in a poor condition. We took the lifts, and when we got into the lifts, the treatment, the headscarves flew off, and our heads got banged on the mirrors inside the lift. So the terror started from the lift. When we got to the 3rd floor, I couldn't walk. They were just grabbing me. They took us to offices, and it was the head of a section, and we also had the horror room, or the torture room. We were asked to just face the wall, and it was a room that I was facing. There was a sister, a young woman, 18 years of age or something, and she was lying like she was dead. She was wrapped in a blanket, and I didn't know whether she was alive or dead, but she was just there. And they grabbed me into the torture room. I don't know how I got there. I don't know how they stripped me off my clothes. I was so pure. I was so pure to find myself naked. There were 12, 13, 20. I was just naked in front of such a number of men, and I don't even remember where I stripped myself off or I got stripped off my clothes. They hanged me. They hanged me from. Sorry, my apology. I didn't come to weep, to cry, I just want to cry, but I have been overcome by tears because I have so much to share with you tonight. I was hanged, but I stood fast. I didn't talk. I was arrested because of one of the leaders, Sahbi al-Hirmi. I didn't know him personally. I used to take some money to his wife. And some of the people who used to give us money would tell us that I was just a courier. She gave us the wife of the person gave us sometimes correspondences, and that was evidence against me. And they thought that I was just giving a hide, shelter to this person, to Sahbi al-Hirmi. Yes, I recognize that I gave money to the wife of Sahbi al-Hirmi because she had children to raise. I was hanged for hours, but I never said anything or saw anything. They would bring Fatima from my neighborhood, and she would come crying. She would look up at me, and she would tell me they would kill you. And I would tell her, I don't know you. They were really resenting me, and they would grab me from my private parts if you wouldn't give the whereabouts of Sahbi al-Hirmi. And when they would bring me down, I wouldn't feel. My body was completely numb, and I couldn't feel anything. I was almost in coma. They would wrap me in a blanket. Then back to square one. You wouldn't know how one feels when one is hanged up. It's the end of life. If you feel that you are dying because but still I stood fast and I didn't disclose one word. And I am very proud of that because I was in such a state, but I was stronger than them. My gaoler, despite the fact of being a woman, I was stronger. My ordeal lasted for about a whole night. It's up and down. And they were frightening me with raping me with a baton, and the torture was horrible. Around about 2 in the morning or something, I'm not sure. There was one group, and my fiancé was arrested. And they were asking where are these people from? And I said, I'm Hamid Al-Ajngi, and this is the one whose fiancé got arrested. Oh, this is the she dog, who relates to this fiance. So they took me back to torture and to the horror rooms, and the band who arrested my fiancé Hasib, who came to torture me. Something else. There was also a woman with them. She was so ferocious. I can't remember their names, but I would have hoped that she was so ferocious, and I doubt if that woman is a human being. Anyway, their torture lasted until it resulted in me being unable to walk. Round about 2 o'clock in the morning, we were taken to the 4th floor for somebody was completely sloshed. He was completely drunk. He was dark skinned and he was drunk. And I was with Samia in the room on the 4th floor, and he asked me to stand up and close against the wall. And I asked, "What are you doing?" So he asked me to strip off, and I was screaming and I was asking, "No, don't do this to her. Enough, you've done really enough." But he was getting closer to me, but he was threatening me to do things to me which I do not want to disclose. I would kneel down, but he would lift me up and ask me to take off my clothes. My apology. Let's be done with torture. After that, they received intelligence information that my fiancé got to Algeria, and the doctor asked them to stop hitting me and torturing me. But the torture I endured, because also I attended torture sessions, because the screams are still ringing in my ears, and it's a nightmare for me. If I describe that man was screaming like a beast about to be slaughtered. They would bring us to the torture room, and you would see signs of blood on the walls. I could see the man was bleeding, and I got into a fit of hysteria. So they took us away because it was really very painful to see those blood marks on the walls. We were tortured because our brothers were being tortured. And they stopped because they have received information that Sahbi has made it through to Algeria, and after 13 days we were given taxi fare and we were allowed to get back homes. And one of the officers was telling us that you must be very grateful because you made it out alive. And the two officers were really happy that we made it out alive from the Ministry of the Interiors and from the gales of the Ministry of the Interior. And when I got home, the whole neighborhood was out. My brother was there. Everybody was there, because the situation of my family was terrible. The state, I can't describe the state in which my father and my mother, and we are a well-established family in Sukra. And sometimes I would wake up screaming and crying, and my mother would ask me, but I couldn't tell my mother that I was stripped off my clothes. But it was not possible for me to disclose such details. But praise be to God, I was stripped off, but nothing happened to me. They never got to where they wanted. They threatened, but never put that into practice. It was just for I was not a downtrodden woman. I'm a pure woman, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm very proud that my daughter would listen to my testimony, and also my brothers. And we are free. They are the ones who just drop their heads. Then I was subjected to surveillance, and after 4 months I got arrested because I was doing charity work, and it was the district of Ariana. The treatment was the same, and their methods were the same. I spent 20 days in the detention center in Bushusha. It was very bad. We were in the garrels. We were in cold conditions. It was very bad. We couldn't. The food was horrible. It was just a piece of bread, and with a little bit of, I wouldn't know, but we refused to eat that stuff. And I was given a 6 month suspended sentence. I got released in 1990. In 1993, I got arrested again. Please stop. Put your cell phones off. In 1993, because I really believed in my in my opinions, and my father opened a small restaurant for me, and some of the people from the movement would come to us and would tell us that the situation of the family, of the prisoners, I used to help with whatever I could with the restaurant takings, and they also realized that, and I was sentenced to 1 year in jail. There was correspondence between the inmates from the movement in prison. Maharzia told us about the prison, and also the other sister, the same methods and the same. But let me take you to the period after jail. The society was very tough, and the family was was also exerting the same methods of the girls. Anyone who was of the Ajangi family would make it difficult. I couldn't move about within my family because my family despised me. I felt a stranger within my family, but I insisted that the one I was in love with, my father was totally opposed, because my father thought that he was the one who really led me on this road. But I insisted that I would wait for my fiance's return, and I waited for him. And when he was released, he asked for my hand, and my father told me, if you marry him, you will forget your family. It's either or, whether the person I loved or whether I need to continue with my family. So when the official came to write my marriage certificate, my father was asking me, are you sure of what you're doing? My father told me that if you give your consent to this marriage, then forget this family. And my marriage was like a funeral. I went to the hairdresser like any girl who would go to get beautified, and you know that, and any bride would be escorted by her father, and I was the preferred. He gave me money to have a driving license. He also gave me money to launch to have a restaurant. May peace be on my father. But my father hated Ben Ali. I went to the hairdresser on that day, and I was waiting for my brother to come along to pick me up to the wedding hall. But I saw my brother, and my fiancée, and asked them, "Why are you here?" But my brother took me in his arms, and you would go to the marriage hall from the hairdresser's saloon. I was crying my eyes out. It was not acceptable. So I cried and I cried. My in-law came. My mother was also forbidden from attending my marriage ceremony. The vehicle, the decorated vehicle, was there, and she was just pleading with my father, for me to leave from my own house. But all the brigades from the security and from the I was a former prisoner. My fiancé was a former prisoner. Was also being sought for. He was wanted, and the marriage hall was filled with all the various services bands, and the head of the Mr. Ali, head of a section, he asked my husband, or my future husband, to just go for a run, for a ride, and come back and open the marriage hall for us. the musicians were not playing their instruments because they were confiscated from them. But my husband made the booking. He said, just let the car pass. The photographer, even my family member, were stripped of their headscarves. After that, Amal Ajangi, who is a political prisoner, and my cousin, and we went through the same predicament. She approached the head of the police section and said, Hamida is just going with her husband. Not now, not tonight. She has to report to the police district, and after that she can attend to her business. So many things were told about me, just rumors about me. On Monday morning, I reported to the police station. And they was just cracking jokes about me because I was just married only 3 days. But I was told that you cannot move to Hammamet so that they can take the precautionary measures. My husband said we're not going to for a honeymoon, and this impacted on me. I was crying. I didn't have an ordinary honeymoon because my father's rejection to me was very tough. My mother stopped visiting me, and my husband was wanted. He was trying to keep up the standards of living I used to have when I was living in my father's place. So it was difficult, and I lived in Rawad, in a popular neighborhood, and my father stopped supporting me financially. I still remember that my husband was injured in the leg, and my young daughter, who would come across 100, 200 millions, would throw those coins in the garden. So my husband would go and pick those forgotten coins, and for us to be able to survive with such little money. One of my brother, Uncle Hamadi Shaladia, would come to us, would come to us and would give me some money, and I would tell him, no, we're fine, but he would tell me, no, I know the truth. Now, going back to my father never came to jail to visit me. My uncle, I was pleading with my uncle for my father to come and see me in jail, and I sent him a letter pleading with him to come and see me, and for as a first visit. It was not a visit. It was just he was crying and I was crying, and even the prison wardens were crying. My father would bring me a basket of foodstuffs every day, and I would feed 13, 14 inmates. My father my mother would cook everything possible, and my father, because he loved me and he was not against the fact that I was in jail, but he resented the fact that I went to jail. And my father had a rifle, but Ali Sariati, who was living not too far away from us, a stray dog got into our garden, so it was shot by my father. So the rifle was confiscated. But when they made the link with my case, they told them, you can kiss goodbye to your rifle, until my father died, but never recovered his rifle. So he was a hunter, and when he was cursing Ben Ali, and also I was cursing Ben Ali because he really ruined our lives. And if you could just give me back my father's rifle, just to take it and place it on his grave, for me as a solace and consolation that I got something from my father, but you can take it back once I'm done with that.
I lived and suffered from torture after getting released from prison. My husband used to suffer with me, and I have been under surveillance on daily basis. I remember that that when Ben Ali was heading to the celebrations of the evacuation of Tunisia, the commemoration evacuation of Tunisia, the men used to run everywhere to prepare for him, and my husband, when he was struggling to make his own living, my husband used to be kept or detained temporarily till the visit of Ben Ali comes to an end. We used to be insulted, ill-treated. We were treated in a non-dignifying way. We lost our dignity. We were degraded. And I used to look at my father and my sister Amel, and I used to feel intimidated and terrified when I see the police forces on the streets. And I do remember that lady that used to torture me, and the administrative surveillance was horrible. They used to visit us at any given moment in time, and they can beat us, and they did beat us all the time. And thank God that when I was still single, my father was crying on that particular day, and when my mother was talking to him about the clothes that need to buy for the kids, and he used to cry because he was penniless, helpless. And I remember that he called upon my brother and asked him to bring or prepare the car, and they departed, left the house, and I used to cry at the dawn time, and my brother used to console me and to comfort me, and he used to to tell me that my father is on my side and that he is currently expecting me to join him before the house. And actually, he was crying back then, and he told me, "Sorry, my daughter, please forget about any kind of acts that may cross the authorities. Just take care of your kids." And my father supported me and helped me to build a house next to him, and I used to take care of him until his death. He was oppressed and he was suffering from repression all the time, and whenever I go to the police station to sign as an on a paper that proves my presence before them, I used to ask the authorities to return the rifle of my father, because it means a lot to him. And when the revolution took place, we were reborn. This was our own birth certificate of those who had been suffering from repression at the time of Ben Ali. I didn't join the revolution on the 14th. I joined the rebels on the 15th. I used to receive phone calls from my father to ask me to go back home because it will be mission impossible for the rebels to remove Ben Ali. But I told him, no, this will happen. I know that he will be forced to leave power in descent. And actually, I enjoyed those moments a lot, and civil society was quite supportive to me. And I remember the organization I've joined is called Tunisian Women, and this association empowered us, urged us to speak up our minds, and I became a member. And I remember that I was also encouraging my fellow colleagues to collaborate and to speak up their minds and give or deliver their own testimonies. And every single time when they used to call me, i.e. the Civil Society Association or CSOs, I felt supported, I felt encouraged, I felt that my voice is finally heard. Now we are thankful to God, and we are thankful for this opportunity, and we're so happy to be here among you. And I know that all of those victims whom you've been listening to are all honorable people, and we were oppressed, repressed, and we suffered from ill treatment, non-humane treatment. I remember when I used to be beaten by those perpetrators. And my inmate at that time was Fadl Sasi, and another person called Barakat as well. The bullets were fired at the two of them. They fell as martyrs for those acts of repression. And when perpetrators beat us, they are beating us as Tunisians, not as leftists or Islamists, but we are all Tunisians, and we need to think of our future. And the TDC is paving the way before new generations to actually be raised on values of justice, and we are refounding our own state, and we are trying to redress the past to make sure that it won't be repeated again. We want all and every single Tunisian to live with honor and dignity, without fear, and to build and reconstruct their own country. This is my own message. Let's be united, let's act as one, let's be Tunisians, and act collectively, and we shouldn't be separated under any given justification or reason. Let's be united forever. Our revolution is a source of pride, and we will set the example to the world and to the region. We are a very good example in the region, and we will continue to be. And I'm sorry for taking so much of your time. That's all. Thank you. Thank you. Hamida, you haven't taken much of our time at all, and thank you for your own testimony. Thank you all. Thanks to the participants and to everyone and to the victims, of course, and let's meet again on the 14th of January. Thank you.
Well done.
الله يخليك انت كمان حبيبي ممتاز انت كبير كبير يا سيدي.
You made it so light. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to next time إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله حبيبي. شكرا.
فرحانة getting confirmation زي الفل. الحمد لله. الحمد لله.